Hey, what's up, sports fans? Welcome back to another episode of Sports, of Course, with Jonah and RPF. The NFL season is officially, the regular season is officially in the books. The playoffs are laid out in front of us. We've got a lot to talk about there, along with our predictions. We'll recap a little bit of last week, but for the most part, everyone's going home, or I should say the majority of people are going home. And then we've obviously got the college football national championship game that happened just the other night, and I think RPF is going to take us through some basketball and tennis as usual. And we have segued into a new award that we're going to be handing out. But all that and a whole lot more coming up on this episode. First off, you can listen to us anywhere you listen to podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Podbean, all the great platforms. You can find us socially on Instagram and X, as well as our dedicated YouTube channel. Just head to any of those platforms, type in Sports of Course with Jonah and RPF. We are the only Sports of Course with Jonah and RPF available out there, so we should pop right up for your listening pleasure. I have talked way too long, RPF, my friend. How are you this week? And let's get rolling.
Emotionally drained from this season. This is just me, or this NFL season felt like it was twice as long as ever. I mean, it just every week was like
this season to me,
upside down. Yeah.
This season to me, strangely, so week 18, the final week of the season, was the first time I can remember in recent history where so many teams, not just number one seeds, so many teams were locked into their positions that everyone was sitting. The Browns sat everyone, the Chiefs sat everyone, the Ravens sat everyone. I think there's one or two more in there, but it was bizarre that even 5 and 4 seeds were just no, there's nothing I can do. I'm a 4 seed or a 3 seed. The Chiefs are a 3 seed. Yeah, 49ers were one. Yeah. It was kind of strange. Go ahead.
I'm saying it was a strange weekend, but at the same time, teams were locked in, but the actual scraggler, there's dozen teams fighting for 3 spots or something. So it was if the Falcons could have gotten in if they won, and the Lions held their breath, and there was a tie in Yugoslavia or something. Anyway, it was all this kind of machinations that would never happen. In fact, I'll tell you. I'll start at the end, which is the most painful for me, of course, is the last game of the season, was when obviously when the Bills beat the Dolphins 21-14. There was at the very end of the game, and we can jump back to it in a little bit, but at the end of the game, after this insanity of a game was coming to an end, I don't know, it's way past your bedtime. I'm sure you were in bed already, but but in the first half, even how Josh Allen gets credit for a touchdown that hits off the helmet of Van Ginkel, goes 75 feet in the air, and somehow lands in the breadbasket of this receiver that no one was even looking.
Well, I wouldn't say breadbasket. It was a hell of a catch. His toes
the best catch ever. But it was a ridiculous. It should be an asterisk to that touchdown. Anyway, the point is that it was annoying, as the Bills certainly are to both our fan bases and
for sure.
Hearts. Anyway, the point is at the end of the game, it's 1:47 left. We had a 4th down stop. The Dolphins have the ball, in the 34 or something of our own. With that offense, 134 is about 131 more than you need to score a touchdown. So I was thinking, okay, here we go. Here's the punchline of all these machinations of the playoffs. If the Dolphins scored the touchdown drive and it became 21-21, first of all, I would have killed McDaniel if he went for 2, because at 21-21 and somehow overtime ends in a tie, Miami would be the number 2 seed and host, wait for it, the Steelers, versus having to play the Bills again in Miami. In what universe are we not trying for a tie? Anyway. So, yeah, sure. Steelers, Bills, you go to Kansas City and deal with that, fine. Anyway, the point is that, of course, as the Dolphin fans, the other shoe dropped and the worst thing happens and yada, 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 to quote Seinfeld, we are not facing the Steelers at home.
Right.
We're heading to Swift Nation to not only battle Mahomes and Kelsey and the other Super Bowl champion Chiefs, but also the entirety of Taylor Swift and Swiftie Nation. So I am. Oh, of course, and being the forecast that it is, it's going to be 0 degrees on Saturday night.
I saw that.
So
I saw that.
the only thing that's going for
that's big. That's actually a big that's a big side note. In my
what
opinion.
do you mean? I'm sure I'm sure the Hawaii-based Tua and the Miami Dolphins 80-degree playing team will be perfectly fine in 0-degree temperatures with a literal sea of red in the fan and what was I going to say? And the other thing is that of course the only thing that's kind of incentivizing, which is weird, is Tyreek Hill's first trip back to Arrowhead since he got traded. All those a couple years ago. So it's not, remember when we played them this year, it was in Frankfurt, Germany. So This will be the first trip back for Tyreek, which in a weird way bothers me because he's gonna. He's always me, and kind of like overcompensating at times, and that's when he makes mistakes. And last week he dropped 2 more balls that were just, what the hell are you doing? So anyway, but I've gone on too far. We'll talk about. Anyway, the other thing I do want to talk about at some point, I don't know if it's right now, is basically, 2 things: the Eagles and the Jaguars. And I want to talk about that for a second.
Yeah, well, I was going to just lead us off with the quick recap. So it started with Saturday, and Saturday's games turned out to be 2 of the biggest stories of the weekend, really.
Yeah.
With the Ravens, like we mentioned earlier, sitting pretty much everybody. And looking at the calendar a couple weeks ago, you're like, oh, Steelers are going to Baltimore. There's no shot. But here we are. The Ravens sit everyone. The Steelers get the victory, pull off the victory, and then obviously other things had to happen, but good Lord, here we are, the Steelers at 10-7, and they're in the playoffs with Mike Tomlin keeps his playoff streak alive, and it's almost like I knew it.
Well, I remember early in the season, you and I were talking about it in like week 2 or 3. We're saying, I don't know, the Steelers are not losing. Things that they find a way to win. They're not really good. They have no quarterback. And meanwhile, they're like 5-2. I'm like, well, what? How are they doing this? And sure enough, they just they hang around.
And then the second game on Saturday there was the Texans and Colts, which was kind of a play to get in situation, and another great storyline where CJ Stroud, and he just said, you know what, I got this, and proceeded to have.
Yeah.
I saw a stat today actually that there's only been 3 quarterbacks to lead the league in passing yards and touchdowns thrown. And it was Joe Montana, weird. Tom Brady, and CJ Stroud.
Wait, Marino never led the league in yards and touchdowns? I find that hard.
Let me I saw it on the gram, so
you mean the same place where they call anyway, yes.
So take that for what it's worth. But yeah.
All right.
Anyway, I'll poke around for it.
But the Texans, but CJ looks like a legit, quasi, almost Mahomes-like in some ways. But he was on point, and when he had to be, and so that was a good game for them. And so it bodes well. They had the momentum. They had a hiccup when CJ wasn't there. But the other thing is, like most, I guess, Captain Obvious comment of the week would be for me how utterly reliant every team is in the NFL with their quarterback. It's literally a quarterback league. I mean, there's no question about this. I mean,
yeah, of course.
But beyond, I mean, even like you can sit everybody and have your starting quarterback, and somehow they'll find it to make a way to make it close or win. And the thing I was trying to say about that is, well, go ahead and with your recap, and I'll jump in.
I think my only sort of side note to that would be, and granted, the 49ers didn't start their players either, would be the interesting game. So the Rams were the other team that I was thinking of that sat players because they were locked into this 6th seed or wherever they are. There's no changing it. So you had the Rams taking on the 49ers with both the backup quarterbacks starting for both teams. And it was, and
they both were starters just last year or something. So it was like kind of like like 2 years ago, yeah.
But yeah, at any rate, you had
but
the Bucs
Rams but the Rams did play Nakua long enough to break Jalen Waddle's record for most receptions
Say it with
by
me,
a rookie
Puka
receiver.
Nacua.
Puka Nacua, and it was a really heartwarming scene. I don't know if you saw. His parents were all in the stands, and
Yeah.
it was like the entire team came and hugged them, hugged the mom.
Yeah.
It's like, how could you not love that? It's just
Yes,
it's
awesome.
sweet. So he broke the record for not only most yards but most receptions, which Jalen Waddle had just 2 years ago for Miami. Yeah.
But pretty much everyone that needed to take care of business, other than that, took care of business. The Bucs beat the Panthers, which they should have to win the division, go into the playoffs.
That was ugly. I saw that game. Oh my God.
Well, yeah, it was
9-0. I mean, doesn't exactly scream confidence.
We're gonna get into this. But yeah, you're like, oh my gosh, that was ugly. They limped their way into the playoffs. But who are they playing in the playoffs?
A team that looks even worse than they do. And they're playing in Tampa. So who knows? The magic of Tom Brady.
Of all the games, that's the one that I'm like, I have no idea who's going to win that game.
That game could be 42-0 Eagles, or it could be 6-3 Bucks.
Right. The Lions took care of their business, beating the Vikings. The Browns stat, everyone got beat. No worry there. The Jets snapped their 15-game losing streak to the Patriots, and I guess we could pause there for a second and see. I did.
Man, Zappy was a little off. It
was really gross. I've had a lot of conversations with my Patriots fans about where we go next, and I think a pipe dream that I threw out there was if the Bears. So we got the 3 pick. If the Bears decided they're going to move on from Justin Fields, is there a universe where we could snag Justin Fields, retain our 3rd pick, and pick up Marvin Harrison Jr. from Ohio State?
What are you giving them?
Other future picks. Maybe even a 2nd or 3rd round pick.
I think you're right. I think Justin Fields was a bad fit for everything in Chicago, obviously, but I think there's something. I think
he's good.
I think he's good too.
I like his play. I like his.
Yeah, I definitely like him much more than a lot of the other, type of celebrated players around him. I mean, quarterbacks around him. But I think that's not a pipe dream so much. It depends. I think it depends on the coach, if they can lure something or.
Well, interestingly, we've been talking about Belichick throughout the course of the season in that whole scenario, and I've been saying all along that I think the issue is that he needs to. I don't doubt him as a coach. I still don't. Our defense was unbelievable. Yeah. Our defense was unbelievable without Matt Judon and without our number 1 pick, Christian Gonzalez, who was the defensive player of the month in September and then got a season-ending injury.
He was all over the Dolphins when he
all
first
over.
Played them.
So the defense was incredible. It's just we have to figure out. And I don't know that the offense is a coaching problem. I think it's just a talent problem. We just don't have anyone.
You don't have any playmakers.
Yeah. So. But anyway, I digress. Interestingly, recently, Belichick kind of came out and said, from his mouth, essentially along the lines of, if it's a matter of me giving up GM responsibilities, I'm willing to do that.
I wouldn't want to be a GM going into Belichick's. No, coach, you're wrong. I'm picking John Smith. Fuck you. Yeah, who has the cojones to go there? I mean, I don't know. That's Although the flip side is you could be the hero too. If you pick the right players. Okay, so that's the Patriots interesting. Then we got
that's the Patriots interestingness. The Saints beat the Bags off the Falcons, and then did you see that late touchdown that they?
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Okay, got it. Let's see, and then a big one here. The Titans beat the Jaguars. Jaguars collapsed.
This is my point. This is my main point. I even checked back to see all these procrastinations, all these is that the right word? The actual predictions from all these experts. Or something like that sounds like a medical exam I have to go to. Anyway. But I definitely think when you look back, literally, I couldn't find one that didn't have the Jags winning the division, and half of them had the Jags playing the Chiefs and or the Ravens in the championship game.
Yeah.
Now, have you heard a peep from any of these blowhards that scream about everything, from Stephen A. Smith down? Anybody saying anything about how The Brett girl didn't do anything, didn't pull the team together. The Jags collapsed. They were the healthiest team in football. I'll say this again.
That's not true. Trevor Lawrence missed a couple weeks ago, and then played this weekend ill-advised.
Well, my point is, for the whole season, as a collective, I mean, they got into this problem because not of this week. They got into the problem because when Lawrence was playing, he wasn't playing well. So the point is, well, yeah, he had a couple of weeks that he had some split ends in his hair, and he freaked out, and he had to go, get taken care of it, or Bay or something, or Christoph in Beverly Hills. Anyway, those are hair salons, in case people are wondering about those names.
Got it.
I know, Jonah, I don't know if you've ever been to a hair salon or not. That's where people actually, they're barbers that smell better, basically, that do the same job. And they validate your parking. So anyway, which it's almost worth the trip. So anyway, yes, I'm saying, just in a matter of just a little bit of fairness, where's the blowback? I'm sure locally the Jacksonville, radio fan base or whatever is kind of very disappointed in. But the expectation game was not like sneak into the wild card. They were like top 2 or 3 in the AFC, and they're gone, and nary a whisper from anybody. So okay.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway,
fair.
That's my point.
A little bit fair. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my point. I mean, as much as I think the CJ Stroud excitement has muffled that, but short of that, the Jags limp into the playoff. I mean, it's like, And by the way,
I think you're exactly right.
I
think you're exactly right. I think that the CJ Stroud story over in Houston has just kind of overtaken that division.
Yeah.
And so everyone's more excited to talk about that than
rightfully so. I'm not saying not to do that. I'm just saying, by the way, what happened to the Jags could be a question for, I don't know, a 3-minute segment somewhere. I mean, if I have to hear one more time how the Dolphins cannot be the team that has a winning record, I literally will throw my TV across the room. I just can't. And I can't, as you say. Yes.
All right, let's move on from them. It was a mega collapse, and they're out, and so they're no longer a part of our conversation going into the playoffs. So then we had the Seahawks doing their business, taking care of the Cardinals, but their plans for playoffs got foiled by the Packers, who beat the Bears and managed to secure their spot. Jordan Love,
I'm finding the love. I mean,
Jordan Love turned out to be, you called it at the beginning of the year. I remember you called. You said Packers. Watch out for the Packers sneaking into that final spot.
I said they'll be number 7 spot, and not saying anything, but RPF is on the money here, on the money.
And then we had Broncos.
And by the way, I'm the only co-host of Sports of Course with Jonah and RPF who still has the plausibility of my Super Bowl picks in play. Just to let you know.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Sure.
Well, I have both of my dark horses in play.
Well, it's true.
I had Tampa and Pittsburgh.
You did. At Pittsburgh, I was like, "What? They don't have a quarterback. What are you talking about?" And sure enough,
again, it's just Mike Tomlin. He doesn't miss the playoffs. I didn't.
Yeah, I know.
That's the only reason I took them. I was like, they're awful. They have I thought they were going to be worse than the Patriots. But Mike Tomlin just doesn't miss the playoffs. I don't understand it. I don't get it. It defies laws of physics.
It does.
All right. Next up, we had we had the Eagles.
Oh my God!
Losing to the Giants.
I wrote 2 words down, which are no words. I mean, if I have to hear one more segment on the NFL Today or whatever it's called on Fox, the Nazis Today, whatever it's called, I literally think, and they keep saying the Eagles, I know their character, I know their brotherhood. And you got to perform. I don't care if they're like bonding over like banging drums, making a fire in the beach. They're not playing together at all. I mean, not only that, the way they're losing. Yeah. I mean, this is like good. Tampa Bay Bucks circa 1991 with the pirate orange helmet, Bucks, when they literally won like 3 games in 4 years or something. Anyway, I just don't understand. I mean, how does a team that was number 1 5 weeks ago literally fall to the depths that they've fallen?
Yeah,
it's almost inexplicable.
It is. It really is.
Yeah,
right.
it is.
And it's like, and you're right, because it's like over this past 5 weeks, like you always, every week when you turn on, Sunday, and you're like, oh, okay, but they'll right
Their
themselves
favorite.
this week.
They're
Yeah,
favored every week.
yeah,
They're
like
favored every week.
they're a good team. They're gonna right
Yeah.
themselves this week, and like especially this past weekend, right? It's like, okay, it's the weekend before the playoffs. They're playing the Giants. They're gonna figure it out, and
Which they don't lose to. Period. The Giants, they beat the Giants like
Yeah.
like Rafa beats a junior player in tennis. It's like it's not even a challenge. And the Giants looked like the Ravens, compared to what the Eagles were offering. Anyway, so that was weird. All right.
Yep. All right, and then we've got Rams 49ers. We already covered that. Rams won 21-20. It was a good game. It was a fun game to watch, but meaningless. Cowboys Commanders, pretty meaningless game. Although if the Cowboys had lost, a couple of things might have happened. And most importantly, if the Cowboys had lost, the Patriots would have gotten a 2-pick instead of the 3. But and then we've already covered your Bills and Dolphins. So
let me tell you one last tidbit of that.
Okay.
The last tidbit of that is, Chris Collinsworth? I just can't. His commentary. I was like, it's bad enough that I have to endure this game. Literally, like watch it like I'm like in a darker room in like a pretzel with tears streaming down my face for no apparent reason. And that's when we're winning at halftime. By the way, did you see that hit to end the first half?
No.
Remember that? Well, Josh Allen, the Bills were driving down the field and they had like 8 seconds left, and they were in the 14-yard line, and he threw the ball to a receiver that was like on the 3-yard line, and he was just about to cross the end zone, and once again, like the Cowboy game, a flying Dolphin defender, just abruptly halted his forward progress and stopped him at the 1-inch line as time ran out of the half.
Yeah, I must have missed that.
That's Google it as I talk.
Google it.
Anyway. Google a bit, kids. All right. So the last thing I'll say about the Dolphins, and I just mentioned it earlier in the podcast, how everyone's belly aching ad nauseum about they can't win, they can't beat a playoff team, they can't win. And here's the numbers to back it up. The Dolphins finished with a 1-5 record against the playoff teams. Okay, they literally have a negative point differential of 91. Only against those teams. Wait for it, only the Giants and the mighty Commanders have a worse point differential than the Dolphins against playoff teams. So yes, I'm here stating until proven otherwise, the Dolphins will be the maligned asterisk team that made the playoffs. And I'm going to jump ahead for 1 second. I'm going to say this. I'm viewing it as like the optimist that I am in my mind, but I'm not an optimist in real life. Okay, but the optimist in my mind, I did the logical like matchups going forward. Right? We all know now the Dolphins have to go to Kansas City, to frigid Kansas City, to play the Chiefs.
Yep.
If the Dolphins win, which we'll talk about in a second, if the Dolphins win, almost certainly they'll play at Baltimore. Yep. Because there's no universe where the Steelers outscore the Bills in Buffalo, right?
I don't believe so.
So therefore, the winner of the Browns-Texans game goes to Buffalo. And the Dolphins, if they win over Kansas City, have the honor of going to Baltimore, home of just 2 weeks ago when we lost by, 40 points. All right. So and then, wait for it, the Dolphins win again. They beat Baltimore. And I think in any universe, Houston, as much as I love Stroud, or the Browns, will not beat the Bills at Buffalo. So therefore, Miami could go to Buffalo for the AFC Championship. Wait for this. So in the history of NFL playoffs in my lifetime, there'll never be a more difficult road to go than going to the Super Bowl champion Chiefs, going to the Baltimore Ravens at number 1 seed and monsters of the universe, and then go to the rival who've beaten them twice already this year by combined 30 points in their home in the middle of February or January. So if the Dolphins, let's say, if it's a small IF italics, 2-point size, never happening, if they do all that, they'll still be the underdog to the NFC team. That's the level of disrespect that we've earned. The Dolphins have earned. So if the Cowboys or the Niners or the Lions are the championship opponent in the Super Bowl against the Dolphins, who are now at this point like playing out of their minds and flying high, we'll still be the underdogs by the bookies. So the likelihood of that happening is, of course, I don't know, 0.2%. So here's the pencil. Now, anyway, so that's basically my Dolphins. That's how we wrap up the regular season with that hope. Okay, now we go into the divisional. Go ahead.
Putting a bow on the regular season. Let's kick off. We got Sunday. We got 2 games on Sunday. Let's start with the first one. We got Browns Texans.
No, it's Saturday. This is Saturday.
Yeah, this is Saturday. Saturday afternoon, 4:30 game. Saturday afternoon. Browns at Houston. Yeah, this one's intriguing to me.
It is. This is gonna be a great game, and I'll tell you why. C.J. Stroud, everyone's buzzing. He's back. He's only been back 1 game. He's still gonna be. He's never had a playoff. It's, obviously he's 9 years old. So, but Grandpa Flacco, remember Super Bowl playing for Joe Flacco. Flacco, I don't know. He's gonna be like granddad of the team. He's gonna be like, everyone calm down. The game will get quieter. I think the Browns pulled this off.
I got the Browns. I have the Browns winning this one. It's unfortunate because I would love the story of C.J. Stroud and his ascension to where he is now, and I would love to see it keep going, but I don't think it will. We all know when the playoffs come around, one of the biggest factors is defense, and the Browns' defense is stout. And then that coupled with the experience of Joe Flacco to be able, like you said, to be able to go, shh, it's all right, everything's gonna be fine.
I got you.
I think the Browns pull this one off. I do.
I do too.
Next one, Saturday night, 8:00 RPF
on Peacock.
On Peacock. On Peacock.
By the way,
download.
I have a family group chat, which I lovingly try to ignore a lot. But there's like 25 people in this group chat, which I know 3 of them of my family of their numbers. Anyway, the point is that everyone's very nice and everyone gets very excited about the Dolphin games and they always like say touchdown. Oh no, we need another score. I just want to Anyway, the point is that at the end of the game, like towards the, my sisters are talking or texting. They're saying, "Oh, the next game's on Peacock." I don't have Peacock. Do we have to go to a bar to watch the game? And I said, "Sorry, only on Peacock, not NBC." And now I had to stand corrected because NBC caved to the pressure. Now in those markets, the NBC affiliate will be allowed to carry the game. So at least that, right? Could you imagine having to you have the Kansas City Chiefs having to people have to get Peacock? They'll probably some people in Kansas City might go out to a farm and buy a Peacock, not understanding that that's not.
we need Peacock.
I mean, are they good with barbecue sauce? Anyway. So that's kind of where we are. The Dolphins at Chiefs. Tell me.
Dolphins at Chiefs. You want me to tell you?
You tell me, and then I'll tell you why you're wrong.
Okay.
Or not.
To be very honest with you, this one is difficult for me because I don't believe in the Chiefs all that much.
I know.
I don't believe in what they've been doing. I think they've got holes. Obviously they drop every single pass that comes their way. I got to be honest. My prediction is based probably 75% on that forecast. And with it, it's supposed to be 0 degrees. And the Dolphins are just notoriously bad in cold weather. I mean,
although in our defense, again, we're about cold weather in Buffalo generally.
But again, I mean, it really is a difficult pick for me. I think. Do we know where Jalen Waddle and Mostert stand? They're playing. Yeah. Because that was obviously, put them in the game against Buffalo, and it's a different story. It sure is.
That last drive would be very different looking.
Yeah, exactly. So it is. It's a very difficult pick. But two things. What you mentioned earlier, and I know you're tired of hearing it, so I wasn't going to say it. But until proven otherwise against successful teams, I'm not going to believe just yet. And then coupled with the weather the cold. I fear for your Dolphins. As a friend, I want them to win. I really do. I need an excited RPF going through the playoffs.
I'll be back. Yay. Chiefs at Buffalo again. Yeah, exactly. No. Look, I grant you that. All of that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I will say again, being the X factor, being such a huge fan and optimist, like I mentioned, I think the Dolphins find a way. I think it's gonna come down to something that's gonna annoy the F out of everyone in Kansas City. Something that it was like, if not for this, that wouldn't have happened or something. I'm hoping it's not the refs. Obviously, that would be a disaster. No, but I'm hoping it's something that I think it could be like a pass that's like bounced off Waddle's hand into Tyreek's hand, or a fumble recovery around the something that's going to be not expected or not predicted, because obviously football is that way. I do think Tyreek has an overhyped first half, and I think he comes through in the second half. I think he does something big. I think Tua is literally like in its black hole of confidence depression, and I'm dying to see tonight the Hard Knocks to see what type of talking McDaniel's doing to him, because he's not in a good place. Somehow, I think they find a way to win. I just do. Yep. I don't know if Kelsey drops an easy touchdown pass or something that people are not. Here's my point: the Dolphins are going to win without any respect going forward. I think that the experts are going to say, well, if this happened, that would have happened, and that type of stuff, right? Which means, again, I think going into, and if my prediction happens across the board, which I think it's pretty obvious that the Bills will beat the Steelers and stuff, the Dolphins will head into Baltimore as I predict as the biggest underdog for a divisional playoff probably in modern history. Case in point, the only way we beat the Ravens in the expert's mind, which is valid, is having contained on Lamar Jackson. What happened? We've lost Jalen Phillips, we lost Bradley Chubb, and now we lost Van Ginkel. The three edge rushers. I
didn't know that.
During this game. So the only three edge rushers. By the way, all of them in the rankings, how they do the next gen stats, in the top 12 of the NFL for edge rushing. So who's left? We have Akbar from I didn't know he wasn't retired yet. And so anyway, I don't know how this happens. So but the point is, one game at a time. I think the Dolphins find a way, an ugly way to win. Is my prediction.
Yeah.
Mostert.
That's
remember,
an interesting. You just gave me more fuel.
Achan can actually break something. So there's ways that we can win on the offense that the Chiefs historically have always had at their disposal. Now, can Mahomes prove like this is all the whole season didn't matter? Watch me now, type of stuff.
Well, so when you mentioned that, I knew about Phillips and Chubb, and then you mentioned Van Ginkel. I mean, to me that bodes pretty poorly for the Dolphins, just because Mahomes, if there's anyone that can create a play out of thin air, if you give him time, it's Mahomes.
Only Mahomes and Jackson.
Granted, they have to catch the ball. They have to catch the ball.
But look. I mean, it's a tall. But here's
it's a tall order, but it could be done.
Here's the flip side of the whole thing. Imagine with me, just suspend belief. Imagine Dolphins beat the Chiefs, Ravens, and Bills, and go to Super Bowl. Talk about, this is like Red Sox 2004 stuff, that we, Google that kids too. Anyway, so the point is that's what I think. The Dolphins will find a way and maybe limp towards a rematch with the mighty Ravens. Is my opinion. All right.
All right. Moving on. Sunday, first game. Bills Steelers. Is there any way the Steelers win this game?
The only hope they have is that the Bills are completely inexplicable at certain times during this season. Inexplicable. That they're just like all of a sudden they forget they're the Bills and they just don't. I don't see it happening. I don't think the Steelers have enough weapons, unfortunately, to score enough points.
Yeah.
Can the Steelers run a punt back? Can they do a fumble recovery or a strip six or whatever? Yeah, they can.
Right.
And by the way, punchline: the best player in football, arguably, Watt, is out. So do you hear that? So I mean, the sacks leader for 3 years in a row is
Yeah.
out. So
Yep.
that pretty much seals it for me for the Bills.
I agree. The 4:30 game, we've got the Packers, Mike McCarthy taking on his old team. We got the Packers and Cowboys in Dallas. I'll give you kind of the same question. Is there any way that the Packers can win this game against Dallas?
I have so many friends who are Packers fans. I'm a big fan of the Packers. Love quarterback. I think Love is really good. I think if you can kidnap Love from the Packers for your Patriots, that would be, which you won't be able to. But
I doubt that's happening now.
yeah, exactly. I think the Packers keep it close in the first half, and the Cowboys pull away. I think it's going to be like, I don't know, a 31, 17 type of affair.
Yeah.
At home, the Cowboys are almost unstoppable.
They're unbelievable at home. I believe they're undefeated this year at home, if I'm not mistaken.
But my friends are all saying, all my Packer fan friends are like, remember the Cowboys collapsed in the playoffs all historically.
They do,
right? They do.
But I think they get
all weather problem. Yeah,
I think they get through this first game.
I do. I do too. I think the Packers kind of like overreached in this one, but like I predicted, I think they would just snuck into the 7th seed.
Yeah. But I think it's actually a really good scenario for Jordan Love. I think it's a scenario where it's like, hey, you're really good, and then you lose that playoff game to go, you're really good, but you're not that good. You need to get better, right? It's
or
kind of that...
no expectation, and they pull the upset of the week.
Yeah, true. Could be. And then all right, the evening game, Matthew Stafford heads back to Detroit to take on my mighty Lions. This is another hard one to predict. I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm pulling for the Lions because of the story, and emotionally, I want them to win. This is really tough. With a healthy Rams team, this is really tough.
Absolutely. This is the game of the weekend. I think this is the one game that's going to live up to the hype. I think this is the one game that's going to be like Goff. It's going to be like hold my beer, while Stafford says, "Oh no, this is Motown. This is what I know how to do." Yeah. But like traditional results in Detroit for Stafford, he comes up just short. I think this is a 41-38 shootout. I think Goff has a game-winning drive. 30 seconds left in the game. I think the Lions with Dan Campbell's gonna do something shocking and succeed at it.
Yeah,
go for it.
Kick an extra point. He's just gonna get 2-point conversions the whole game.
Or go for it on 4th and 12 and get something ridiculous. But I think the Lions find a way, and I think that it's going to be a great game. I think this is a game that you pop the popcorn for and get ready. Yeah.
I hope so. I hope you're right. Interestingly, I think it'll be pertinent to find out if the Lions tight end rookie tight end Sam Laporta, is available. He went down. He left the game. I don't know with what.
I think it's down. I think a left knee or something. I think it's down.
That could bode pretty big. He's been a pretty key, integral part.
He's been huge.
Offense.
I mean, it's more than 100 catches. So he's a huge part of it.
All right, and then the last game, they saved one game for Monday. RPF. Will anyone tune in to watch the Eagles Buccaneers game?
Only I would watch it. Is this on? Is this Eli and is this a Manning cast?
That's right.
It is
Manning cast.
Okay. All right. I'll watch the Manning cast just because I'll be like I'll be knitting. I'll be multitasking or something while this is. I mean, I just want to. I mean, look, the Eagles have the potential. Like I said,
Who wins?
I'm taking the Bucs.
I'm
taking the Bucs. I'm taking the Bucs at Tampa Bay. I think the ghost of Tom Brady is lingering or something. So I think the Bucs win around, and Bucs have no right to win anything, let alone a round against the mighty Eagles that were just in the Super Bowl just last year. So I think this will be the collapse talked about around the NFL for up through Super Bowl weekend. What happened to the Eagles? I think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree.
So to recap, then if all of this, we agree on everything. By the way, no, you picked the Rams, right?
Except for the Dolphins.
I would ignore you about that, and you always bring it. And then you picked the Rams over the Lions, or you're picking the Lions.
I'm picking the Lions, but I'm explaining up front that is an emotional pick.
Well, hello, that's my whole life. All right, so. So if I'm right, then the Dolphins play the Ravens, like we talked about, and the Browns, if Flacco, go to Buffalo.
Yep.
That's not automatic for Buffalo with Flacco.
Well, I think the next round is where we differ.
All right, exactly. And then in my world, the Bucks go to the 49ers, and we could hear the collective like Bay Area cracking up. Oh no, Baker Mayfield! Oh no! Oh my God, it'll be like 31-4, 2 safeties. I'll give them. All right, because what's his name? Brock didn't tie his shoelaces or something. All right, and then the Lions at the Cowboys would be delicious. That would be the game I would love to watch. So I think that's my divisional round. Tell me your divisional round.
Mine is the same, with the exception of.
Oh, the Chiefs will go to Baltimore.
Chiefs would go to Baltimore.
Baltimore.
The Chiefs would go to Baltimore. Browns go to the Bills. Yep. But yes. But yeah, Lions at Cowboys. And then, as you mentioned, the Baker taking on the 49ers.
Oh my God.
Let's go ahead and go a step further. So if that all plays out, let's go AFC. Here's where I think we differ. I think this is my upset of the playoffs. I've got the Browns
Cleveland
beating the Bills.
I think so. Look, I said it's not automatic. I think the Bills.
Josh Allen, like, listen, the Bills. They were at what 1-6-6, and
wait,
now they won.
Did you see those passes that he did in the first half?
Awful. He had 2 interceptions in the first quarter, and it's like,
can you imagine if that was Tua? Oh, let's just throw it up in the air and see what happens. Like the guy called it the jump ball.
I think
the jump ball.
I just don't know that I trust him going up a stout defense in the Browns. Like in the Browns, there's something about him. I haven't watched many of the Browns games. That's why I'm almost hesitant. But so I don't know how they play, but they seem to just play very solid football.
I watch them on the red zone, and they always they show everything. But they step up, and they like that type of smash mouth weather too. So
yeah,
I don't know. And Flacco, this is a story. This is the story of the NFL. This is the comeback player of the year. Incredible. If Hamlin was involved, but yeah. Anyway, so I think the Browns. I don't disagree with you. I think the Browns is the upset special. If I'm putting a little money on it, Browns. If I'm putting a lot of money, how do you go against the Bills at Buffalo in January? I don't know.
It's true. So, it's true.
In a fair world, it'd be Buffalo at Baltimore and Dallas at San Francisco. If you had to think about it in a football,
I've got Browns and Baltimore in the AFC Championship game. I've got the Chiefs. I got Baltimore beating the Chiefs.
I got the Dolphins. I got the Dolphins at Cleveland.
And then NFC, the 49ers obviously take care of the Buccaneers. And if it's not the Bucs, if it's the Eagles, then they take care of the Eagles too.
Whatever, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. They're going to be in the NFC Championship game. And then I have the Lions going into Dallas as a revenge game over that where they stole their 2 seed from them, and I had them going in, and I'm going to say by a touchdown. Saying
I have the Lions comfortably. Going to San Francisco for the championship game. It'll go against my own preseason pick of the Cowboys in Super Bowl. So we'll see.
And then I won't get ahead of ourselves too much, so I think we'll leave it at that. I think we've picked our 2 finalists for each conference, and we'll kind of wait till it shakes out here.
Exactly.
I'm not ready to dive into who wins between Lions and 49ers. There's a long way to go. So
let's talk college football briefly.
College football, go blue, Wolverines.
As we record this, last night was the championship game. Michigan manhandled the Huskies, Washington Huskies, 34-13. Now, the only thing that's interesting about this game was really nothing except the running from Michigan was very impressive in the block. They had 2 runs of 50 yards within the first 3 minutes, untouched. So that tells you about college football. And then we have, this isn't even the Panthers.
At one point, the guy had 2 rushing attempts for 87 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That's a good average, like a 44 43-yard average. The only thing that's interesting to me is the Jim Harbaugh sweepstakes. Jim Harbaugh, as you know, his brother is NFL coach, and Jim Harbaugh is the coach of Michigan, and much embattled, and he was suspended earlier in the year for cheating scandal, where he was cheating on the other team, spying on the other teams, and yada yada yada. He's a bully, whatever, all those things. Jim Harbaugh hired Tom Brady's agent a month ago. You don't hire Tom Brady's agent for $1 billion cut that they get if you're staying at Michigan. So sorry, Big Blue. Bye-bye. Wave goodbye. Wave goodbye to Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh will never be in a better position ever to go to the NFL with a higher stock price than now.
Yeah.
He can write his own ticket. I predict either one of two things happen. He either goes to he likes a splashy team. He likes his ego likes to be in the middle of everything. I think he goes to the Raiders. Las Vegas is him. It's in the Strip. It's a historic team. It's a much maligned team. They have pieces that he can work with. I think he goes to the Raiders, or the new ownership group at the Commanders, Washington, cleaned house, if you notice, and they hired this high kind of like consulting group, basically, who kind of packages the front office. And if they're willing to put in all the chips at the table and bring him on board as GM and head coach and give him, a house in Arlington, Virginia, and and access to the White House cafeteria, whatever they have to do, I think the Commanders could be a place he can go to as well. I don't think it's that sexy. Is that sexy for him that he doesn't have the pieces that the Raiders already have, including Derek Carr?
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Raiders are going to be the champions of the Harbaugh sweepstakes. Again, could it be another big bust for Harbaugh? He tried this once in the NFL and didn't go well.
Yep.
So anyway, so that's just my take.
Well, he made it to the Super Bowl.
Well, there's that, yeah. Anyway, but there's the NCAA. This is my take on college football. It's all about the head coach that's going to the NFL. Because this game, as much as it means nothing, because next year all the conferences are blown up anyway. So it's going to be like this whole free-for-all.
I know. And I think I heard on the broadcast last night that he would be the first coach in NCAA history to win the national title and then bounce.
Really? Nick Saban did it with Alabama for a week to Miami and went back to Alabama. Or Jimmy Johnson did this too, didn't he? Go from Miami, from the University of Miami Hurricanes, he went to Dallas or something. I don't know.
That's what I thought. I thought I heard that on the show. But
I think back to your Instagram fact checking.
No, this wasn't Instagram. This was on the broadcast. Okay,
all right.
But this was also I selective hearing at times. Admittedly,
let's go through some quick hits here so we can get the sports into our name back into.
Yes, other sports. There's other sports, right?
I have a friend of mine who said that we should call this NFL, of course, which is kind of. I said doesn't have the same ring to it, but thanks for your contribution. And so I managed to offend one of our millions of listeners who happen to be my friend. I said NFL, of course. Great name. No. Anyway, so baseball. This is a fun fact. The LA Dodgers has had another signing this week for another ridiculous amount of money. The LA Dodgers have committed this offseason to 3 players, $1.2 billion. I'll say it again slowly. 3 baseball players, which none of them can speak English very well, I will say, which is interesting, fun fact as well. The commitment to 3 players the LA Dodgers have done this offseason of $1.2 billion is equals the amount as every other baseball team in Major League Baseball combined. Every other team combined has spent $1.22 billion. The Dodgers, the same thing. The Dodgers have committed $1.2 billion. Anyway, just a fun fact. But as I always say in Axios, but the 3 biggest spenders from last year. So don't go crowning the Dodgers yet. The 3 biggest spenders from last year, the Mets, Yankees, and Padres, didn't even make the playoffs. So
yeah.
So we'll see. Although I don't know what universe the Dodgers don't make the playoffs with this lineup. I mean, anyway, so that's baseball.
Yeah, they're
Any contribution to that
they're
segment?
they appear to be putting together an Avengers team over there. They're
It,
just like
yeah, I don't know.
it's
I want some DNA checking here because I don't know if they're even human at this point. It's ridiculous.
But
All right.
interestingly, they keep spending all this money. But interestingly, I don't know if about the third player, but the Hernandez that they just signed for a 1-year contract, they deferred some of his money.
No,
and so I'm like,
everything's deferred. Everything's deferred.
Yeah, like like this is. I mean, they're clear. I think, right? If I'm gathering all the information correctly, they're clearly just selling out for like this year, and then they are going to be absolutely effed in like 8 years.
This is what I view it as. Imagine if your house is cold, so you dig a cave under your house and dig the coal out of the ground. You know for a fact you will die of cancer in 20 years but in the short term, your house is toasty and warm and you have all this coal heating up your but your kids all have cancer.
That was a very interesting analogy.
This is what the Dodgers are the coal miners of baseball. They're blowing up the
stamp it.
Not my best analogy, perhaps, but I will say it's something visual you can point. Like basically, like F the planet. I need to warm my house now.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the planet's like, wait, what? It's like So anyway, sorry. Moving off baseball for a second. Quickly, a quick bullet about the NBA. My favorite player, my favorite rookie, my favorite player, of course, Triple J, Jaime Jaquez Jr. from Miami Heat.
As we all know.
Yes, Triple J, and he's continuing. By the way, Jaquez, Bam Adebayo, and Tyler Hero are completely just still tearing up the court as Jimmy Butler, our star player, has been sidelined the entire time for weeks now, and they still keep winning with this resurgent threesome. A threesome of talent that the Heat had. So Jaime Jaquez Jr. has now just announced that he's going to be participating in the dunk competition in the All-Star break, which is going to be so much fun. Because if you see his highlights, half of them are just like tremendous, like slams and whatever. So I never watched the dunk competition because it's like, yay, no one's defending you. Yeah, you can jump high. Good for you. But Triple J is doing it, so I'm definitely going to be watching it. So tune in for the dunk competition.
Dunk contest. All right. I didn't even know they still did that, really.
I know.
To me, it got to a point where they're just like, it
They're
got so like, they're like bringing in cars onto the court to like jump over. And I'm like, what?
The little trampolines that jump over the court and do double.
Yeah, it became, I was more of a fan when it was like, there was like this sort of like amount of like timing skill involved where they would like the self alley-oops or like the bounce pass where they go up and get it, and it's like this timing thing that you have to do, whereas now it's just like, oh, let me show you how high I can jump, and then put the ball in the hoop.
I remember way back when Larry Bird was competing for like a 3-point competition and he was like just in that corner looking like that gawky bird of it, he just shooting, literally did not stop shooting, and it was like, oh my god. And it was like, anyway, so that's what I think about of kind of fun, like horse, when you play horse in the schoolyard. It's a fun competition. But dunking, to me, it's like, okay, why do we need to? It became a show. It became like, anyway, all right, so that's the NBA. Let's go to PGA for 1 second. Golf.
PGA. All right, let's do it.
Two quick hits. One is kind of like a passing, like a moment we have to acknowledge. The Tiger Woods and Nike have parted ways after
Yep.
2.5 decades of just iconic branding with athlete pairing. The thing that's undervalued in some ways. Nike left golf like 7 years ago. In a real sense, they don't have equipment, they don't have balls anymore, they don't have anything. And so this was coming down the road eventually. But that red, like we talked about in previous podcasts, that maroon shirt on Sundays when Tiger's in the hunt at a major, it's one of those seared images will never leave our collective thought. But I don't know. I think the idea that Nike would take the time and the care, whomever crafted those ads, those commercials over the years, that just embodied, that kind of captured the essence of what it meant to the company and to Tiger and to us.
Yeah.
They're beautiful. I can't go through,
Yeah.
I can't think of it now, but there was at least a dozen TV commercials and moments that were just beautiful, and that Nike did a beautiful job with, as far as promoting themselves, of course, but also honoring their biggest star. So Tiger Woods and Nike, I think we should take a moment to acknowledge that it was a very good partnership for both sides. And Tiger teased that there's another partnership coming with, like, who knows,
Yeah.
with Tesla or something horrifying. Anyway, so it's like I'm going to space, with Elon Musk. The other thing that's interesting in the PGA this week, which otherwise would not enter our discussion because it's not a major thing, but in Maui, which is the first tournament this year, obviously, and for the PGA in Hawaii, which by the way, Maui needs this type of positivity after the horrible year that they had. So Maui, a golfer I never heard of, maybe you have. His name is Chris Kirk. Chris Kirk just won the Maui Invitational, I think it's called, with 29 under par. Which, if you know golf, that's a lot. The weird part is two things. One is he won by a single stroke. What? I mean, are par threes, par fives there? I mean, I don't understand how that works. But going 29, if I'm going 29 under and I win by a stroke, I'd be like, what? I should have won by 15 strokes, right? All right. So then he wins that. He gets a berth to the Masters, which is great for him.
Yeah.
But guess how much he made for this weekend and some unheard of golf tournament I never heard of. $3.6 million. What the actual F? Is this the influence of our friends, the Saudis?
Well, it is. The PGA said that basically, this was back last season, announced that they were going to basically start matching as close as they can the purses and payouts.
Should I be playing more golf? I mean, should I be like seeing if I have a secret skill? I've played Masters since I was in 7th grade. Wow. So, okay. I thought that was like eye-popping in some way. Okay. So
yes, it is. But to answer your question, it is a direct impact of Live Golf.
Yeah.
And, so devil's advocate, this is kind of why Live Golf was good for the PGA golfers as well. It's like they finally... PGA no longer has this monopoly of like, oh, when you win, we're gonna pay you, we're gonna make $1 billion off this broadcast, but we're only gonna pay you $1 million.
I told a friend of mine that the PGA was so awful before that they would actually make you drive a Buick if you won a tournament. Like, I'm good with my Range Rover, thanks. I don't need.
I'll get my own damn rental.
Even every rental of Buick, every mid-sized rental of Buick. Anyway, it's just very. Wasn't a Buick what Tiger was driving when he flipped over?
I think so. Yeah.
I know. He was actually a spokesperson for Buick for a long time, which is very.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
Anyway, Buick. I kept thinking, really, Mercedes didn't call you? Anyway, the driving machine, BMW, nothing. All right. So then we go into tennis, as always. Last week, I mentioned how Rafa Nadal didn't look good. He looked great in his first 2 matches.
Yep.
And then he was playing this really resurgent type of Aussie player. I told you about the oi, 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 Aussie, Aussie, Aussie thing. And then he lost. But he lost, and I was wondering why he lost. And sure enough, there was a micro tear in the same place in the same hip area that he had a problem with. So he had to withdraw from the Australian Open. The good news, he says, is like it's a little tear. It's going to be fine in a minute, blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing. His body's breaking down, as we know. And I did a little Google searching of my own with actual facts, unlike the gram, where it said the following. Rafa Nadal has missed more Grand Slam tournaments. Grand Slam, we talked about this, 4 tournaments a year, due to injuries. He's missed 16 and counting Grand Slam tournaments in his career. 16 is more than he has losses against in Grand Slams against Djokovic, Federer, Murray, Thiem, Wawrinka and Medvedev combined. I'll say it again. He's missed 16 tournaments that are critical to anyone's idea of the GOAT. 16 of them, which by any metric, he would have won, give him a fourth of those. Let's say he wins 4 more.
Mm-hmm.
He's lost the opportunity to play in Grand Slam 16 times. That's more than he's lost collectively against Djokovic and Federer and Murray, Thiem, Wawrinka, and Medvedev. That's another argument for being the GOAT. And I realize that being healthy is part of the metric here. You have to be healthy to play, right?
Right.
I mean, but anyway, the point is that Rafa is otherworldly when he does participate. His percentage of winning a Grand Slam when he plays a Grand Slam is like 22 points higher than Djokovic and Federer. Djokovic has
incredible.
Djokovic has missed 1 Grand Slam in that whole time. So that tells you everything. And he's still only 1 Grand Slam more than Rafa total. So just saying. All right. Are we ready for the final segment?
It's the final segment. And where do we land? What are we calling this?
This is now called the Aaron Rodgers Memorial Asshole of the Week Award.
Is it memorial or commemorative? Memorial's like he died. He's not dead yet. Commemorative, no? I don't know.
Commemorative? Is that a word I want to say every week? All right. Aaron, how about this? The Aaron Rodgers Asshole of the Week Award. No memorial, no commemorative.
I was just trying to put more words in it so it sounded fancier.
All right. How about okay. No.
Anyway, what do you got?
Aaron Rodgers Asshole of the Week Award. I have, as anyone who saw any of the games this past week, when the Atlanta Falcons lost badly, very badly, to the New Orleans Saints, towards the end of the game in garbage time, the Saints found themselves on the 3-yard line or something. They have this player named Jamal Williams. And Jamal Williams, you may remember from 2 years ago, led the NFL in touchdowns, which is it was like a Raheem type of Mostert moment, for that season. And Jamal Williams has been hurt, hasn't been playing, so he literally has no touchdowns this year, coming off being the most prolific touchdown scorer. So and his teammates love him in New Orleans, right? So what did they do? They go, the coach says, take a knee. They go, sure. And they didn't. They literally gave him the ball. He scored in the end zone. They celebrated. And what happens? The now ex-Atlanta Falcons head coach, Arthur Smith, ran over to the Saints coach at halftime. I mean, on midfield after the game, Dennis Allen, and he literally just was barking at him. That's fucking trash. That's unbelievable. What the fuck are you doing? All right. Look, this is a problem I have also with crybabies. When the Dolphins scored 70 points or whatever it was against the Broncos, we had a chance to break the record all time with a field goal, and we were at the 11-yard line. And McDaniel, the head coach for Miami, said, "No, take a knee." Why? What's not fun for the fans? Who cares? It's Anyway, so the point is, I was so annoyed by this guy, so I did some research on him, and he, I said, "What an asshole!" I said, "Oh, I know. He just wins the Aaron Rodgers Asshole of the Week award." Look,
but who does?
The Arthur Smith for crowing about this. Arthur Smith, Allen apologized to open his press conference. He said, "Look, the players did it on their own. They didn't tell me. It's not cool. I get it. I'd be annoyed also." He was very classy about it. He said, "Look, I just didn't even." So, in fact, I was heading over to talk to him to say to him, "This was not me. This was the players themselves decided to do." All right. And Arthur Smith couldn't care less. They told him in his press conference what he said. He goes, he didn't care. He thought he stands by his outburst.
Yeah.
He got fired like a minute later, of course. But I said, is he an asshole or just having a bad moment because the team had just got eliminated, humiliated, and his fan base was hoping for a miracle, etc. And he knew his job was on the line, and he's on the hot seat. And so I did a Google search. The first thing you do on Google search, I put Arthur Smith asshole. What's the search? It popped up. A current Falcons player, quote, on Reddit said, "He's an asshole who is awful at his job." So not only is this the first segment of the Aaron Rodgers Asshole of the Week award, I am validated by a current not to be named player of the Atlanta Falcons. Anyway, so that is my segment this week. Is Arthur Smith. And by the way, why would he throw like that in national television when he knows he's up for a job? He needs to find a job. You know, who's going to want to have that type of?
Yeah, well, I think there's a little bit more semantics that need to be dug into there, because quite frankly, when you brought this topic up and you mentioned this game, I thought you were going along the lines of Jameis Winston and the offense of the Saints as assholes, because that's how I felt.
Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah.
If you want to get your buddy a touchdown, I get it. Here's where they went wrong. They went wrong by lining up in victory formation and then doing it. If the coach calls in and says, "Hey, take a knee," and you're like, "Nope, okay," then in the huddle you go, "Hey guys, coach said take a knee, but we're not. We're getting Jamal a touchdown. Here's the play we're gonna run." At least give the other team an opportunity to go, "Oh, they're not taking a knee. Okay, hang on."
I agree with you, 100%.
But when it was
the deception, the sneakiness, the unnecessariness of it all, I get it.
Right.
That's the one thing you can't control is your reaction to something like that. And
I agree.
Was just displacing his frustration for the whole year. Probably He
was. I'm sure he knew he was getting fired, and I'm sure he knew.
Well, he probably got a hit when his locker was cleared out before he went backstage, before he went to the locker room. Yeah.
It's like in baseball when you get ejected, and it's like as soon as they throw you out, then you really start arguing.
my favorite always was the old time managers when they would just went on and would put the dirt on the home plate, just put on and on, like Billy Martin would do that, and what's his name from the Orioles, the old manager from the Orioles, he would always thinking like, okay, we get it, he has to bend over and clean it again. Anyway, all right, so that's all I got.
That's all we got for this show this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you had a blast. We did. You can listen to us anywhere you listen to podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Podbean, all the great platforms. You can find us socially on Instagram and X, as well as check us out on our dedicated YouTube channel. Just head to any of those platforms, type in Sports, of course, with Jonah and RPF, and we'll pop right up for your listening pleasure. RPF has something to say. Go ahead.
Just one thing. It just hit me. This will be the first time in my life, and I'm speaking to Swift Nation, to all my Swifties. This will be the first time ever in my memory I've gone against anything Taylor Swift wants to happen. So I am I want to be very clear about this. I love my Dolphins more than my luggage, but I will say this. I am a Swiftie forever. I hope Taylor is somehow happy and fulfilled as the Dolphins sneak out of victory. Just saying that. Okay. I want to make sure the Swiftie Nation is good with me because I don't want any drama.
Okay. Well, listen, man, you don't have to say anything. In fairness, you were a Dolphins fan before you were a Swiftie. It's just math.
He's kidding, guys. Don't cancel us. Just kidding.
It's just math. She wasn't alive.
Shake it off. All right.
All right. On that note, I am out of here.
Bye. Oh my God.